people of Earth. I am Mr. Rafe, and welcome to another episode of Tech Trends for Your Neuromantic Life. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the bane of your existence, passwords and company password policies. Now, unfortunately, no matter what industry, most companies have a pretty poor password policy implementation. It generally means you need some mixture of uppercase and lowercase characters and some numbers and maybe some special characters, but usually they're quite short, for the minimum being 10 characters or even some cases less, 6 characters, which is incredibly easy to crack. Now, the reason I'm going to talk about this subject is there's this common misconception that everyone needs a different password for a different website or a different service. They all have to be unique, and that means you need hundreds, in some examples, hundreds of different passwords. Now, it's just not feasible, it doesn't make sense, and to get around this, people do a lot of stupid things, like leaving passwords written on post-it notes. I've even seen companies have passwords for their Wi-Fi on the whiteboard that can be seen from other buildings across next door. That's crazy. So what do you do if you want a secure password? Well, I don't think you should use any of these password storage things, and I certainly don't think you should be saving passwords on your browser history, right? That option that pops up, do you want to save this login? Do not click yes, and here is why. Not too long ago, I did some work in the online retargeting and programmatic advertising industry, and we used to buy third-party data from a number of companies, whether that's MasterCard, Google, Facebook, Experian, Equifax. There's tons of companies that will sell you your online behavior, but anonymized. So what do I mean by anonymized? Well, basically, it's just, instead of it being linked to your name or your postcode or your email address, it's just an encrypted version of your email, SHA-256 encryption, and that's enough to anonymize it, but it's still a unique identifier. So I could still match your online behavior across Facebook, Google, any number of websites, any number of third-party providers. One of these providers actually got caught last year for using the password save pop-up that defaults in your browser and the autocomplete when you go to that site, and it automatically fills that out on a layer behind the image in its banner advertising, and it actually managed to use an exploit in most known browsers to give them 90 days of your internet history. Doesn't matter if it was private mode, the lot. Now, it seems that people have become lazy authenticators. So what do? Well, you could try and have one password, a unique password for every single service. So a different one for your Google, a different one for Gmail, a different one for Facebook, but it's really hard, okay? If you've got hundreds of services like your bank, news sites you subscribe to, all the social media platforms, it's hard to remember all of those. So what do people do? They write them on sticky notes and stick it on their computer, or they write it and stick it on their keyboard, or they write it on the whiteboard, or they use one of these things like LastPass and things like that. Look, those services that store all those still get hacked, okay? So they're not 100% foolproof. And really, it's just purely because people are lazy authenticators. Now, back in the day, before mobile phones, when we had to use actual phone boxes to call our friends, we would have to memorize the home number of all our friends, go to the post box and call them, see if they were home, see if they wanted to come to the park, hang out on our bikes, all that stuff. And you ended up having to memorize 30, 40, 50 different phone numbers. And it wasn't that hard. But now that we've got mobile phones, We don't remember anyone's phone number. We just write it down in our phone. And when it comes to passwords, we're very much the same. We don't need to remember any password. That is a massive problem. You're not using your brains, people. So, I've come up with a strategy that allows me to have just one password that I can change regularly, and every month that I change my password, it becomes more complex. So, by regularly changing my password, I'm reducing the risk of anybody actually getting access to it and being able to access any service I use with that password. But also, each time I'm creating a longer and longer and more complex password, so that if anybody tries to watch me type in my password or tries to brute force it with some kick-ass algorithm, it's far too complex. So let me tell you about brute forcing and how that works. Let's say, for example, your mobile phone. A lot of people just use the PIN pad, 4 digits, to lock their phone. That can now be broken by just trying every single possible combination in about 16 hours by plugging in a USB device into your phone. In 16 hours, I've unlocked it. So if someone steals your phone, it's not hard for them to then log in and get access to everything. Let's talk about Windows, and my favorite, Windows 10. One of the stupid options that Windows 10 gives you is to switch from a complex password to a PIN. Again, that's super quick and super easy to hack. Now, let's talk about passwords then. If you are saving passwords in your browser using the save password feature that auto completes when you log on to that website, if I want to access any of the websites you access, even if you've got 100 different passwords, one for each individual service, all I need to do is get into your Windows password, just one of them, and then I open a browser and, oh look, it's remembered your Facebook password. Oh look, it's remembered your Gmail password, because you've turned that feature on. How hard is it for me to get into your Windows computer? Well, if I've got physical access to the machine, less than a minute. There are multiple ways I can either bypass your password, reset your password, boot from a DVD of Windows 10 and erase your password, or create an administrator account so I can reset your password. Or I can use the small USB device known as a rubber ducky and copy your password out of the memory and send it to my server so I can remotely access it later. This is how easy it is for me to access your machine and then all your passwords. I mean, a lot of people leave those LastPass and KeePass password storage things open, unlocked on that computer. So all I need to do is get access to your computer, either locally or remotely. So what do? How do you make a complex password? Well, first of all, most people are choosing really lazy passwords. For example, people are choosing the name of their pet and the year they were born, or the name of their daughter and the year that their daughter was born. Things like that are absolutely ridiculous, and let me tell you why. All I need to do is look at your Facebook profile. I know the name of your pet. You spent hours posting dog pics or cat pics, and oh, it's Kitty's birthday today. And now I know the date of birth of your cat, or your dog, or your child. So don't use names and don't use dates of birth. Don't use postcodes either. You'd be amazed at how many homes use the postcode of the owner for the PIN pad to deactivate the alarm. That's insane. Okay, everybody does that. So it's not too hard to work it out, especially if you're in that suburb. My God. So anyway, here's what I do for passwords. Step one is I like to use nicknames. nicknames for pets of my friends or children of my friends, or something that's not posted about me or on my profile on my social media. And these nicknames are usually things I don't tell my friends I have a nickname for their cat or their dog. So, for example, Stinkrat is the name I named one of my friends' ferrets, because they're stink rats. And to tweak it so that it's more complex, it's not just letters, to make it harder with a mixture of special characters and numbers within the name, I do the following thing. So I might use capitals for the first word in stink and the second word rat, right? So the S is a capital, the R is a capital. I might use a 1 instead of the I in stink, and I might use an @ symbol instead of the A in rat. Then I might put some year or some number like 22 and a special character at the end. So it might be stinkrat 22 hash, for example. But that's really easy for me to remember, stinkrat 22 hash. But the way I spell it is a capital S, lowercase t, number 1, lowercase n, lowercase k. You get the idea. Now, what do you do when you need to reset your password? You really should reset your passwords every 30 days. And a lot of companies might make you do it every 90 days. This usually causes a massive problem for everyone, but for me, it's really simple. I just think of another password, maybe my other friend's pet. So if I got Stinkrat, maybe Silly Kitty 69, who knows, right? All I do is I add them together. Don't just replace the one that you've just spent 30 days memorizing. Add the new one on the end, or in front, or split them up. But that way, every month, my password's getting longer, more complex, because it's got more special characters, more uppercase characters, more numbers. Today, my personal password preference is around 32 to 46 characters. Any longer than that, and it can get tricky you might end up mistyping a character, and it might take you a while to keep trying it again, just because you can't type that long without making a mistake or whatever. But that's pretty much your optimal length. You want 32, 46, 52, something like that. You could even make it a story. It could be sentences or movie quotes. As long as you mix up and enter some letters and some special characters in there. It also makes it really hard if someone is what's called shoulder surfing and they're looking over your shoulder as you're entering your password. No one's going to be able to remember 46 key presses that I'm doing with shift key down and then, you know, a special character here and a special character there. It's going to be really hard. Look, stop being lazy authenticators. You're putting your private information at risk. So the other thing you need to do is you need to really consider also not just having a complex password, but where you can introduce multi-factor authentication. Now what that is, it's the simple idea of, hey, you log in and they send you a link to click on, or they send you a code via SMS. Both those options are still kind of risky. Email can be intercepted, and actually SMS can be intercepted as well. Now, you might think, oh, how hard is it to intercept an SMS? Well, it's actually quite easy. There's multiple ways you can do it. Someone could actually temporarily, and this is an actual big threat at the moment in the online banking industry, is some of the online banks send you an SMS code if you want to use the app and then get money out so you don't need your card, or if you lost your card or whatever. Look, it's really easy to intercept that. The way the SMS gateways work is they're just sending data and that code to a service which then sends out the email. I could do a porting attack on your SMS, so I could steal your wallet and your phone, or I could steal your wallet and then put in a request to port your mobile number to a device that I'm using, and now you're not getting the SMSs, I'm getting the SMSs. So I could easily empty your account that way. Or you can also use something, and a lot of, let's say, well-funded criminal organizations use this, something called Authentication. It basically does a man-in-the-middle attack. It pretends that it is the base mobile tower and tricks your phone to send the message through it to the base station and back. Send messages back through it, then onto your phone. So while you do get the SMS, I get it too if I'm using one of these devices. And I could beat you to it. You could get an SMS saying, hey, please enter your code into Google or Microsoft or whatever. And I'm already there waiting, and I've done it by the time you've read the SMS. I'm in, I've changed your password, you're locked out. So look, people, really be more careful about when you use these passwords, and honestly, add two-factor authentication. Now, the way that you should use two-factor authentication rather than email links and SMS is generally use one of those authentication devices. Now, there's a couple around. There's a few that are mobile apps. There are a few that work in web browsers. There are also some hardware devices you can get, and Google's actually bringing out one. I think it's called Titan. I'm trying to get my hands on one so I can show you guys how that works. But basically, the USB device means you need to plug it in. So not only are you saying, I've got the credentials for this account, but you're also using hardware in that device you're connected to say, and this is me, I'm at this computer. But even if you just get started by using SMS or the Authenticator apps that have the number that slowly moves every minute, those will work great for now. Just be aware SMS can be hacked, or intercepted. So look, guys, simple. Pick passwords people can't find by looking up your social profiles. Make sure it's more complex than just someone's name or something's name and their birthday. Mix it up, make them more complex. Don't just throw away last month's password, just enhance it. Add a new one onto the end or the front, or write a story, but please make it as complex as you can. And then, if you're changing it regularly, you don't need hundreds of passwords. You could use the same one for every service. Just cycle them regularly. All right, I hope that's of help. I'd love to hear your comments. So write your comments down below if you think I'm an idiot and this strategy is bad, or there's some flaw in my strategy, or perhaps you've got a better strategy you'd like to share with the commenters below. Do that. I look forward to bringing you some more tech trends later. And remember, don't be a lazy authenticator. Have an awesome day.